Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're involved in sourcing, procurement, or sustainability, you probably already know a really hard truth. The biggest risks to your business, they usually happen completely outside your direct operations. So today, we're breaking down exactly how to standardize and actually measure the environmental and social risks hiding in agricultural supply chains.
Okay, let's ground ourselves in the official SASB Agricultural Products Standard. These standards, which are now officially part of the IFRS Foundation, give us the exact, industry-tailored frameworks we need. We aren't dealing with vague, feel-good sustainability promises today. We're talking about the hard, standardized accounting metrics that investors are actively demanding.
It's a critical question, right? Because modern agricultural sourcing is honestly a bit of a minefield of potential labor and environmental issues if you aren't tracking the right metrics. You might know exactly what's happening inside your own processing facilities, but when you're sourcing commodities globally from countless intermediary distributors, how do you actually measure your exposure to risk?
Well, here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. Hidden supply chain risks, 2. Tracking third-party certifications, 3. Calculating certification percentages, 4. Evaluating supplier audits, and 5. Taking corrective action.
Let's jump right into part 1. Hidden supply chain risks.
Because, let's be real, when you source globally from countless intermediaries, a vulnerability anywhere is literally a vulnerability everywhere. The SASB standard explicitly warns us that failing to manage these environmental and social issues creates this massive domino effect. We're talking regulatory fines, spiking operational costs, and severe, lasting brand damage. Standardized measurement is your only true shield to protect your supply chain against sudden crop disruptions and wild price fluctuations.
Moving right along to Section 2, Tracking Third-Party Certifications. The standard actually splits these certifications into two main buckets: environmental standards, which focus on planetary boundaries, and social standards, which are all about human rights and worker safety. For the environmental side, we're looking at things like protecting primary forests, maintaining water quality, and using integrated pest management. And then on the social side, it's about fair workforce compensation, constant monitoring of health and safety risks, and absolutely prohibiting any child labor practices.
And here's the beauty of it. The SASB framework recognizes a really massive breadth of rigorous third-party standards. Whether you're sourcing sugar with Bonsucro, palm oil using RSPO mass balance, or soy through RTRs, the standard lets you leverage the frameworks that already exist. You don't have to go out and invent a new audit from scratch. You just have to accurately track the certification.
Okay, Section 3, Calculating Certification Percentages. So let's get into the actual math here. It's basically a three-step process. First, you isolate the cost of products sourced from certified Tier 1 suppliers. And remember, Tier 1 means the suppliers you transact with directly. Then, you divide that by the total cost of all agricultural products purchased from all your Tier 1 suppliers. The scope here is super important. It includes everything from contract farming and spot market purchases to grain elevators where you don't actually control the production process.
Now pay attention to this part because it is absolutely crucial. This metric is purely financial. You have to calculate the percentage based on the presentation currency cost of the goods, not by volume, like metric tons. Why does this matter? Well, think about it. Agricultural supply chains are incredibly diverse. Comparing a metric ton of some high-value, super lightweight spice to a metric ton of bulk feed grain, that just doesn't give investors an accurate picture of your actual business risk. By standardizing the calculation by cost, you provide a true financial reflection of exactly how much of your business spend is protected by these certifications.
All right, on to Section 4, Evaluating Supplier Audits. When you're looking at supplier audits, you really have to draw a hard line between major and minor violations. The SASB standard is incredibly specific here. A major non-conformance isn't just a missed paperwork deadline. We're talking systemic issues, the presence of forced labor or underage workers, or health, safety, and environmental practices that pose an immediate literal danger. Minor non-conformances, on the flip side, are isolated incidents. They don't point to a massive systemic failure, and they present a low risk. You have to track these two categories completely separately.
So, to get your non-conformance rate, it's simple division. Just divide the number of infractions by the number of facilities you've actually audited. And you do this separately for your major and minor categories. Notice the denominator here. It's not the total number of supplier facilities you have, it's the number you actually audited. This is a brilliant rule because it ensures the data isn't artificially watered down by a massive network of unchecked suppliers.
It forces total transparency on the exact subset of suppliers you are actively monitoring.
And finally, Section 5, taking corrective action.
Finding the problem is only half the battle, right? What's really interesting here is that the standard mandates a strict 90-day time limit for a fix to officially count as a corrective action. You can't just have some open-ended improvement plan sitting on a desk gathering dust for 2 years. To count positively toward your metrics, the root cause literally has to be verified and eliminated within exactly 90 days.
Which brings us to the corrective action rate. You just divide your total corrective actions by the total non-conformances identified. This gives you a direct, hard number on your supply chain's responsiveness. Again, calculate this separately for majors and minors. You know, a high non-conformance rate in your audits might actually just mean your auditing process is super rigorous. But your corrective action rate, that proves whether you have the operational muscle to actually force your suppliers to fix those problems promptly.
Let's bring it all together. Here's a clear breakdown of the two big quantitative metrics we tackled today under the Agricultural Product Standard. The first one shows your proactive shielding. That's the percentage of your total spend covered by rigorous third-party certifications like Fairtrade or RSPO. And the second one shows your reactive management, the precise rates at which your suppliers fail audits and exactly how fast you force them to correct those failures.
So as you look at your own procurement data, I want you to ask yourself, what hidden risks is your data totally missing? Are you calculating by volume when you really should be calculating by cost? Are you tracking real verified corrective actions or just letting issues sit unresolved past that 90-day mark? The SASB framework gives us the exact tools to stop guessing and start actually accounting for these risks. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep measuring, keep refining, and we'll see you next time.